Good evening, everybody. Like every Thursday, here I am, Xiomara Mayo Ingram, tonight with our session, Get Over It, Overcoming Situations. I want to welcome you all. I want to say thanks to you for allowing me this amazing opportunity to be sharing with you some of the things that I've learned about overcoming situations. Some of the things that I have been able to share with others, and that now, thanks to you opening this space, you'll be able to also benefit from it. Before I go on with tonight's presentation, I would like to remind you a couple of things that, like I usually do. Um, First of all, that this session is a live session. You can talk to me using the chat. The chat is working, so you can ask your questions. You can share your concerns, your opinions. But specifically, I like you when you ask me questions because then I can address them on real time and I can give you some feedback and I can give you some recommendations that might be very helpful for you. Also, I would like to remind you to invite others to visit Emotional Cafe. Not only to come to the live presentations, but to go over the past videos of those presentations that we have already had, and also to browse our webpage. We have amazing feature articles that you can also benefit from. And I also always mention the fact that you can go back to the videos and you can take notes on some of the recommendations. You know how I always go making recommendations about whatever is the topic that we're discussing. So you can actually take notes and you can just do this at any time that is convenient for you. Emotional Cafe is yours. It's a virtual platform for you to get assistance, for you to get the boost that sometimes we all need in order to conquer yourself, in order to do more. So invite your friends, invite your family members, and let them know that it's totally free. Follow us on the social media. You can follow or like our Facebook page. And I also wanted to introduce to you what we've been promoting lately, which is our boot camp. And I've had an amazing opportunity to work with people that have been signing for coming and spending a few days working one-on-one with me here in Central Florida. So if you would like to have more information on that regard, you can email me. You go to our webpage and there's an email there, and just let me know when is the best time to contact you, and I personally will be contacting you in order to give you more details and ask your questions in that regard. So if you're thinking about it, if you think it's something that might help you or that you might like, I tell you it's an amazing experience, and I have already started doing this. It's working on a more intensive level with people. I know that we all have hectic schedules and there's so much going on. So what I'm trying to do with the boot camp is a short program based on your specific needs and specific issues that you want us to work with, and to boost and give you that motivation and give you that inspiration and help you move forward. So again, go to our webpage and just contact me and I'll be glad to share all details with you. And finally, my last reminder of tonight is that the newsletter for the month of May soon will be coming out. So if you haven't signed, if you have not subscribed for our newsletter, all you need to do is go to our webpage and subscribe by putting your email address. You will be receiving an email. It's a confirmation email. Please click on the link that you'll get on that email, and you'll be all set up to get our newsletter, Emotional Cafe newsletter, every month directly from our server. So it is very important that you confirm your subscription. Some people have been putting their emails, but they don't click on the link that they get on that specific email that you're going to be getting. You need to do so if you want to get the newsletter, because that's what confirms your subscription. So if you haven't done that, I invite you to go and take a few minutes after the session and take care of that, because in about a week you will be receiving our May newsletter. So with all those reminders, let's talk about tonight's topic. Get over it. You know that the whole month of April we've been talking about acceptance, and I have been sharing with you how I myself have been struggling with issues and specific things in my life that I've had to deal with my levels of acceptance. And just wrapping it all up, because tonight's the final session that we're going to be having on acceptance. I express one of the things that I address in each one of the sessions is my definition of acceptance, because some people tend to think of the word acceptance as comfort or conformity. And I have addressed the fact that to me, acceptance is making peace with myself that something is just the way it is. But that doesn't mean that it has to remain that way. It means that I accept that it's like that in order to decide what I want to do next. If I want to leave it the way it is, if I want to make adjustments, if I want to make changes, if I want to redefine my goals or whatever. There's always a choice after that acceptance, and it's what you're going to do next. So we've gone from acceptance starting with ourselves. That was the first topic that we had at the beginning of the month. And then accepting others and our differences, how we all can be very different, and we just need to accept that that's the way it is. And last week, we were talking about accepting life and its twist, which is more accepting life on life terms. And tonight, it's gonna be a different format, because you know how I usually talk about the topic and then I give my recommendations at the end. But what I wanted to do for this session was to go over specific situations, very common situations in which we deal with so much frustration and that get us so stuck, and sometimes it's just so hard how we just stay there. And I wanted to be able to go over those situations and give you a quick recommendation for each one of those situations specifically. At the end, however, I have a special treat for you, which is going to be how to take care of your emotional well-being. So that's going to be the treat at the end, but I'm going to go over the different situations. And I want to start with an illustration. I know that you've seen, probably when we were promoting the session, you saw a great picture that my marketing team designed for promoting Emotional Cafe. And it's about a glass of milk totally poured down, and it's all over the table. So I want to use the following illustration, just like that one, to kind of get you into thinking about the whole perspective of getting over it. Imagine that you're wearing your new suit and you're going out to a gala, or maybe you're going to the theater, or maybe to the movies. You're going somewhere special. You're gonna have a great evening, so therefore you dress up and you're all ready and you look handsome or pretty with your new suit. And then you decided that you're gonna grab a cup of coffee once you get to the place. So you're already away from home and you're enjoying your coffee, and next thing you know, you poured the coffee all over yourself. You must imagine that your whole suit now looks and smells like coffee. It's all stained. Your immediate reaction is going to be frustration. How could this happen? I'm going to talk about myself. I will go nuts. I'll go like, oh my goodness, how could I be so dumb? Look at what I just did. And I might go to the bathroom and try to get the stain off, but still it looks wet, it looks stained. What do? Well, you always have choices. One of the choices can be to go back home and change. But maybe you don't have enough time to go back home and change. So pretty much it'll take a decision whether to enjoy the rest of the evening and deal with the stain of coffee later because there's nothing else you can do, or whine and complain the entire evening and not enjoy the evening you have ahead of you because you're so frustrated with the stain on your suit that you simply cannot enjoy what's going on around you. Now, if your choice was to enjoy the evening regardless the stain, when you get home you have another couple of choices. You can either put the suit in a bag to give it away and get rid of it, or you can put it in a bag to take it to the laundry so you can still have your suit, fixed, cleaned. Or you can decide if you're going to go to bed and keep wearing that suit and wake up the next morning and go to work with that suit and continue whining and complaining about what happened to that suit. Pretty much what I want to illustrate here is that there are always choices in how we deal with things. There will always be things that we cannot control. There will always be things we cannot avoid from happening. And when they happen, I know the feeling. I know it can be overwhelming, it can be frustrating, but we have a choice. And the choice is, how are you going to deal with that? Are you going to remain there, or are you going to move on? And that's why I like so much the word overcoming, because and this is something that I used to work with clients that I knew they had it tough in their lives, and they had situations that were really, 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 really bad and sad. But what I like about the word overcoming is that it implies that besides and in spite of all the pain and in spite of whatever happened to you, you get up, you move forward, you keep going in spite of that. It doesn't mean that it's not going to hurt, it doesn't mean that you're going to forget, but it means that in spite of what happened, you still have a choice ahead of you of what you want to do next. Now, let's go over the situations and let's go with a little bit of the recommendations that I have for you. And I'm sure you'll be able to relate. One of the most common situations that causes huge frustration, first one, living constantly holding on to the past, to something that has already happened. My friends, it's just amazing how some people keep attached to the past in such a way that they refuse to live in the now. They refuse to live in the present. And there are categories to that, because when I say living in the past, some people literally think it's living in a different age than what we're living. But let's look into it and see it in pieces. It can be that you're holding on to a relationship that already ended, that you might still have feelings for someone that is already out of your life, but you're still holding on to that feeling and you don't want to get over that because you continuously talk about it and keep reliving that in your mind. Or maybe it's thoughts about your ex, which there's a reason why it's your ex anyhow, so think about it. But that's one of the categories that we hold on to, that when I'm talking about holding on to the past, I'm referring to. Another one is holding on to those specific results or consequences of a choice or a decision that we already made. There's no way we can change that result. There's no way we can change those consequences. We need to move on. But yet, we constantly go over and over and over those, as if by talking and whining about it, it's going to change the outcome. Some people keep holding on to a dream. No, I was going to be a famous musician. And now you're 40 years old, but I was still going to be a famous musician when I was 20. And then you're 60 years old and you're still talking about when you were going to be a famous musician back then. And maybe you're about to die and you're still talking about when you were going to be a famous musician back there. A dream. Another one, and this is really funny, some people hold on to a stage of their lives. Listen to this one. I used to have a friend in the 80s, in the 1980s, okay? And he was to me the perfect 1980s figure, okay? The way he dressed, the music he heard, the way he walked, everything. It was so 80s. That was amazing. Well, guess what? Then came the 90s. Then came the 2000, and we're in 2016, and I can tell you this. I still see my friend, and he's still wearing the same clothes he used to wear when it was the 80s. He listens to the same music, he talks about the same things, he talks about the same people, the people he used to hang out with, the people he went to school with. It's just absurd, to a point that people avoid him because he's not living in the now. He's living way back in the 80s. So maybe you're holding on to a stage in your life. Maybe it's something material, some possessions that you had, and you no longer have them, but you keep talking on and on and on and on about that thing that was so precious to you, but accept it. You don't have it anymore. Maybe it's a friendship that no longer is, or that maybe changed, or maybe this person moved, and you're blocking others to come closer to you simply because you keep holding on to this special friend you had. And some people even hold on to who they used to be. Well, all these categories, relationships, material, possessions, consequences, dreams, friends, are examples of how people are holding on to the past. And let me tell you something. While you're living in the past, you're missing all the blessings and all the beauty of the present. So I have some specific recommendations for you if that is your case and you can relate to any of these attachments. Practice, and this is something that you need to do with being fully aware, practice being in the here, in the now. Whenever you find yourself talking about something that is already past, pull yourself back down here to this specific moment. This is something that we constantly need to practice. Make the decision to say enough. Enough is enough. The past is already past. It's gone. It's done. Ask yourself the following question. Do you really think that by talking about it or holding on to it, something that it's already gone or done, you're going to be able to change it? Think about it. When we think about this question, you can see the logic and you realize, oh my goodness, what am I doing? You know, this is not going to change. But you need to be fully aware that it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to change. And try to put all your energy and focus on new goals, new resolutions, new actions. New. What's new ahead of you? What do you want to happen? What would you like to happen? And another suggestion that I constantly make to everybody that I work with, write. Write and write some more. Get a piece of paper, get a journal, get a notebook, get a little pad, but write. Because when you write about it, when you write about what you're feeling, you see it, you look at it, and then you can face it and accept it and get over it. You can move on. Okay, but you need to be fully aware of this pattern. And sometimes people are holding on to the past and they don't even realize that they're living in the past. So by writing, you will be able to identify and you will be able to make yourself the question again. Why am I thinking about this? Will it change the outcome just by simply thinking about this? No. What can I do next? What can I do new? What new goal I can have? What new skill I can learn? Where can I meet new people? How can I develop a new relationship? Think about something new ahead of you. Now, another excellent illustration that I always use is that I ask, why is the windshield at the front of the car bigger than the rear view mirror? Because it is always more important to clearly see the road ahead than the one you left behind. And there's a reason for that. And it's the same thing with life. When you're holding on to whatever happened, you will be missing what's happening now. So you don't want to miss it. Wonderful things can be happening or can be about to happen in your life, and you simply don't want to miss it. So let's be aware of this. Now the other situation, and I love this one. Some of us, and I'm going to include myself because, again, as I always tell you, I have experienced most of these things myself. It's not only assisting others, but I have experienced them myself. Sometimes we feel stuck, totally stagnated, and we complain that things are not going quite the way we wish they would go, quite the way we want them to go. What do we do? You could probably relate to it. And there's some people that they are constantly whining and they do nothing about it. Well, what can you do? These are my recommendations. If you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling stagnated, if you're feeling that your life is not going the way you would like it to go, if you feel that the things that are happening are not what you expect them to happen, here's my recommendation. Make a list of those specific things that you cannot change. I know there are things we cannot change, but there are things we can change. So make a list on the left, take a piece of paper on the left and make a list of the things you cannot change, and then on the right, get another piece of paper and make a list of those things you can change. So now you have to list the ones that you cannot change and the ones that you can change. Now, with the list of the things you cannot change, I want you to specifically write the reasons why those specific things cannot be changed. Now, on the list of the things you can change, I want you to write all the actions that imply or that you need to take in order to change those things that now you know they're changeable, that they can be changed. After you have those two lists together, you're going to realize that these things that you cannot change, some of them you might be able to change. But again, let's imagine you can't. You're going to work with the one that you can. Make a list of your limitations, what you consider that you're lacking of, what you think you need in order to make those actions happen. And then when you realize those limitations, when you realize what you need to improve, make a list of specifically how you think you can improve that. Maybe it's taking a class, maybe it's reading about it, maybe it's research, maybe it's developing a new skill, maybe it's gaining some knowledge, I don't know. But as you develop this list, and that's why to me writing is so important, because some people might say it, like they come to a session and I go over this exercise with them and they can start verbalizing things, but if they don't write it, they forget the minute that they walk out the door. And that's what happens. That's why we need to write it, because writing it will help us see it. So again, stop complaining about the things that are not working in your life. Think about what is it that is not working, what areas, what situations are, and make a list. What things cannot be changed and why, and what things can be changed and how. What are the actions that need to be taken? And then how can you do it? What kind of skills you need? What kind of knowledge you need? What kind of new development you need to nurture in order to make it happen? Now, these same recommendations go along with the following situation. Maybe it's not in your life. Maybe it's at work. Now the situation is that you are not satisfied at work. You don't feel there's any growing opportunity, that maybe it is a matter of not making enough income, and maybe, who knows, maybe you even recently lost your job. Okay. Let's take the same recommendations and let's look at it. Something is not right at your job. You're not liking it. You're not happy about it. Make a list of the things you cannot change, because many of those things will be related to your boss, to your employer, or to your co-workers maybe. But make a list, those things you cannot change. And then make a list of the things you can change. What is it you can change in order to get better growing opportunities? Maybe it's not there. Maybe it's not in that office. Maybe it's somewhere else. Maybe you're not making enough income. What extra things can you do in order to get some extra income? What actions needs to be taken in order to make that happen? Make a list of what you consider your limitations, what you're lacking of, or what you need to learn or develop or nurture in order to make this new goal happen. It's just amazing how some people, we can have two people going through the same situation, and how this person simply sits down on the couch and whine about it and cannot think of a simple way to move from that specific spot. And it's just amazing how the other person, within the same circumstances, can come up with all these amazing ideas and opportunities and move on from that spot and prosper in everything they do. Why do you think that happens? It's simply an attitude. It has to do with putting those actions and having that get over it mentality. Sitting down and whining about it, it's not a choice. It cannot be, because it's not going to take you anywhere you want to go. But when you start putting your actions together by making a list, by looking at it, by writing what is it that is going on and what you can do to change it, you're empowering yourself to make that change happen. Another situation. And again, I am going over those specific situations that constantly we have to cope with, and that we get so stuck and so affected by it that it's really hard for us to move on. Coping with lack of validation and recognition from others. Sometimes we have that need, that urge of others validating us and recognizing what we do and making us feel good about ourselves. Well, my recommendations for you, I remember when I had a very experience realizing that I was not a gold coin. And what I mean is that you're not gonna have everybody like you. Everybody feel happy about being around you, and I have that experience at an early age. I try to be very friendly. I try to be, that everybody would like me. And I came across this person that was a co-worker that simply didn't like me at all. It was not something that I did. It actually didn't even have to do with me at all. Simply, this person didn't like me. And it was hard for me because I kept being stuck asking, but why? Why doesn't he like me? How come he doesn't like me? I try to be friendly. We're working together. I tried to do this. I try to help him. I tried that. I tried that. And I remember the person or supervisor telling me, you're trying too hard and it has nothing to do with you. Accept it. He just doesn't like it. He just doesn't like you. And I remember I had to actually realize that, and it was shocking for me, but it helped me understand that not everybody's going to like me, not everybody's going to like you, okay? And by understanding this, you don't put yourself in a situation for people to make you feel upset about yourself, because it's not even worth it. It has nothing to do with you. So just remember that people don't have to be in agreement with what you do or how you manage yourself. Maybe they just don't like you, okay? Now, try to put all your energy and focus on doing things that nurture your self-esteem. I always recommend to use some of the healing beliefs, hanging out with positive people, and very important, keeping toxic people away from you. I know this is hard because sometimes toxic people can be your family members or someone really dear to us, but you need to realize that these people have nothing positive to give, and you need to dosify and have strong boundaries with them. So when you interact with them, you know how they affect you, so you kind of pick when you're hanging out with them and for how long you're going to be with them. And again, by being fully aware that they're toxic, that they sometimes don't do you so good, you will be able to hang out with the right crew, as we say, to nurture your own self-esteem, but also hang out with people that can respect you and admire you and validate you and make you feel good. I always have to say, though, that validation and recognition needs to come from within. It needs to come from yourself to yourself. There's no way someone else is going to love you or someone else is going to respect you if you don't love yourself first, if you don't respect yourself first. And my final situation for tonight, one of those common situations that we're always coping with frustration, is that we're constantly feeding the idea of a perfect life and the perfect relationship that we never get to have. And this is really important because some people are never happy with their life the way they are, and it's because they're always having this expectation of the perfect life or the perfect family or the perfect relationship, and it's simply not going to happen. So you have to remember, these are my recommendations for you. Keep in mind that we're all human beings and we're imperfect. There's nothing perfect, and you're not perfect, I'm not perfect, your spouse is not perfect, your children are not perfect. So remember that. Give your best and do your best in everything you do, and make adjustments and changes in order to improve your life, in order to improve your relationship. Just like I was talking before with the lists, write about what cannot be changed, but write what can be changed, what you would like it to be better, and what can you do, what actions can you actually take in order to improve the quality of life you have, or the relationship that you're having, or the way your family gets along. So it's all about becoming aware and being responsible to make those changes that we need to make. So stop with the whining, stop with complaining, stop with being sitting, laying on the couch and just whining about how unfair life is, or how how stuck you are, or how things are not the way you want them to be, and start putting actions together to make changes, because that's what acceptance is about, being able to make peace, realizing that this is the way things are, and then asking yourself, okay, what next? What do I do now with the way things are? Do I want to stay like this, or do I want to push a little forward, or do I want to put this aside and move in a different direction, or do I want to redefine myself? And this is what getting over things and overcoming situation is about. I'm gonna go with my final considerations before I give you my final treat: how to preserve your emotional health, how to take care of your emotional health if you have found it. Remember that life constantly goes changing, and again, some things you cannot help it, some things you cannot avoid them, some things you can control, but you are fully responsible on how you react to it, what you do with it, how you're going to let it affect you, for how long you're going to let whatever situation you're going through affect you. Remember that life is full of beautiful things, but there's also adversity. We talked about it last week. It just happens. That's the way life is. But it doesn't mean that it's the end of your life. It doesn't mean that that the adversity is who you are. Don't let the adversity define you, and rather than that, define how you're gonna let adversity play in your life, by not ruling all the aspects of your life, by not letting it rule your peace and your internal joy, your inner joy, that one that you have inside of you. And stop with thinking how you could have done things differently. This is a thought that, far from helping you grow, it kind of pushes you down. So don't hold on to the idea that you could have done it differently, or things could have been differently. Things have been the way they had to be, because if you could have done those differently, I'm sure you would have. But it's just a false pretense to believe that by thinking it through, we're going to be able to go back and change it. It's just not going to happen. So don't even waste your energy on that. We must make the decision to put actions in motion. Sometimes I work with people and they say to me, Xiomara, I know I have to do this. Or they tell me, I really want to do this. Or I feel it that I have to do this. Well, let me tell you what I tell them. It's not enough knowing. It's not enough to know. It's not enough to want it. It's not enough to feel it. If you don't put the actions together, if you don't actually move and put those actions in motion, nothing is going to happen. You'll know, you'll feel, and you'll want it, but you'll still be stuck. So if you really want to overcome the situation, you need to know you need to overcome it, you need to want it, and you need to feel it. But without the actions, there's no way you're going to accomplish anything. So keep that in mind. And my final treat to you is how you can preserve your emotional health. These are things that I've done myself. I keep them doing on regular basis for me, for my emotional health. But it's also something that I recommend to the people that I work with. So I hope they help you. Nurture the positive thinking. Remember that the same effort, the same energy that you have to put into thinking negatively is the same effort, is the same amount of energy that you need to put towards the positive thinking. So nurture thinking in ways that are always positive. Try to see the best in everything. Try to be positive about everything. Try to have that attitude that it could have been worse, so let's move on. Let's continue. Nurture affection. It is really important that you love yourself and that you Express your love to others as well, so you can also receive the love that they have to give. Have a hobby. Do something that you love, something you enjoy to do. These are things that connect you with yourself. So they're going to make you feel joyful. So find something that you would like to do. And if you don't know what you would like to do, make a list of all the things that you would like to explore. It's a great opportunity to start knowing yourself. I can tell you the things I don't like. And the way I found out was by doing them and realizing they were not that fun for me. They were fun for other people, but I had to accept they were not for me. But that was the way that I was able to find what really work for myself. Choose your fights. Don't go fighting over things that are totally irrelevant, things that are not even worth it to fight over. So choose your fights. And I love this one. Laugh. Laugh out loud. Laugh until you can feel your tears running down your cheeks, but laugh like a little kid, because that's gonna make you feel so much joy inside. And sometimes I have told you how I just get all cartoons from when I was a little girl, and things that I just love to watch and laugh. And sometimes I just need to relax and forget about everything and laugh out loud. And I tell you, when I laugh, everybody hears and everybody laughs because it's contagious. Surround yourself with things that make you feel great. Think about ways that you feel better about yourself, about your surroundings, about your home, maybe a little corner that is your favorite corner to watch TV or read a book. But surround yourself with things that will make you feel great. Keep stress and toxicity aside. You are responsible to keep toxicity away from you. And again, I know that sometimes it's hard because sometimes it might be someone that is actually a member of your family or someone really close to you, but you need to do this for your own good. Do not hold on to the past. It's gone. Do not start living in the future. It hasn't happened. Practice the being in the here and the now. Today, this moment. We're here now. We don't know about tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll take care of whatever comes our way. But tonight is about what we're doing right now, where we're at. So just drop it with the past and the future. And my final recommendation for your emotional health: continue growing. Continue reading books, hanging out with the people that will nurture your soul, sharing with others that are doing the same thing that you're doing. But keep that growing path that you have started, because that's what's going to take you to your self realization, your being able to accomplish the things that you want and conquer yourself. And those are my specific recommendations for you to preserve your emotional health. My dear friends, I know sometimes it's hard. I know you might be listening to me and saying it's easier said than done, but let me tell you this: it's worth to give it a try. I've tried it and I've found a total different quality of life that I ever imagined. So I wish the same for you. Have a great evening, and I hope to see you on Thursday next week.